Let's go Dolphins! The heat is rising in Miami Gardens, not just from the sun, but from the tension, the stakes, and the raw intensity building behind the scenes at Dolphins training camp. What if I told you that the Dolphins might already have their next breakout star at quarterback, and it's not who you think? What if I told you that a forgotten linebacker is outshining a multi-million-dollar starter? And what if the wide receiver making the most noise wasn't even drafted? Things are getting wild, unpredictable, and just a little bit chaotic, and that's exactly why you need to pay attention right now. The battle lines are being drawn, the pads are about to come on, and some players are already rewriting the depth chart before we even hit the preseason. But let me tell you, if Chris Greer had done his job right years ago, Miami wouldn't be playing catch-up every summer. The truth is, he should have been fired a long time ago. Yet here we are, hoping Mike McDaniel can once again clean up the mess and mold this roster into a real Super Bowl contender. Already hooked? Good, because I'm about to tell you everything I've seen and heard from training camp, and trust me, it's not what you expect. But before I do, if you've been riding with the Dolphins for 20 plus years, smash that like button right now and drop a comment that says, "Go Dolphins!" My heart bleeds aqua and orange. Let's get into it. Now let's talk about what's really happening on the field, and there's no bigger storyline right now than Quinn Ewers. The 7th round pick out of Texas has done something very few late round quarterbacks ever managed to do. Turn heads and stir real conversation in his first training camp. He was QB3 on paper behind Tua and Zach Wilson, but that script might already be flipping. Ewers has put together back-to-back strong days and strung together multiple touchdown passes during red zone drills, including a wide-open strike to Theo Weiss Jr., another to the same target in the back of the end zone, and a third to Andrew Armstrong. Yes, these were red zone reps, so touchdowns are expected. But what matters is how Quinn Ewers is executing, and he's doing it with precision, confidence, and growth. This isn't the same guy from OTAs or mandatory minicamp. Beat reporters, even Mike McDaniel himself, are saying it. Quinn is stacking good days. He's getting sharper. He's developing fast. And for a franchise that has historically fumbled the backup QB spot, this development is massive. Some are already saying he looks better than Skylar Thompson ever did. That should tell you everything. But it's not just the QB battle that's heating up. Theo Weiss Jr., the undrafted free agent wide receiver, is making a case to crash the 53-man roster. He was the star of the red zone session, catching 2 of Ewers' touchdowns and continuing a strong camp that followed impressive OTA and minicamp performances. The Dolphins spent a decent chunk of change to bring Weiss in, and while Andrew Armstrong got more pre-camp hype, it's Weiss who's been making the noise. With Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Nick Westbrook-Akine, and Malik Washington looking locked in, there might be just 1 or 2 spots left at wide receiver. If it's only one, Weiss will need to beat out Dwayne Eskridge, a veteran with special teams upside. That's a steep hill, but not impossible, especially with the way Weiss has been balling. And don't think camp's been all sunshine and touchdowns. Things boiled over with a bit of physicality between Kenneth Grant and Andrew Meir, and while it didn't escalate to punches, it was enough to ignite the fire that's clearly burning through this locker room. Training camp fights aren't just tolerated, they're welcomed when they show passion and grit. That's exactly what this team needs. They need to fight, because the road to the Super Bowl isn't paved with finesse. It's built on toughness, and for once, this team is showing some of that. Speaking of toughness, nobody's been tougher than Willie Gay Jr., the linebacker, brought in on a 1-year deal, has been the breakout star of camp so far. Omar Kelly went as far as to say he's been one of the top 5 defenders on the field. With speed, instinct, and explosiveness, Gay is playing like a man on a mission. He's been active in blitz packages, closing gaps in the run game, and even had a sack and pass breakup in 11-on-11s. He's playing so well that Tyrell Dodson, the $8 million man expected to start next to Jordan Brooks, might be watching from the bench if this keeps up. The pads come on next, and that's where we'll see who's built for Sundays. But for now, Willie Gay Jr. looks like a starter. Now we have to talk about the injuries, because unfortunately, not everything is trending upward. The most concerning situation is with Kader Kohou, Miami's top cornerback, who's dealing with swelling in his lower body. He's officially day-to-day, but don't expect to see him practice this week. And let's be clear, Kohou is not just important, he is essential. Without him, this secondary is vulnerable, even after the recent additions of Jack Jones, Mike Hilton, and Cornell Armstrong. Those names help, sure, but Kohou is the anchor. And if he's out for any extended time, Miami's already thin margin for error just gets slimmer. Aaron Brewer, on the other hand, is trending in the right direction. The Dolphins' rock-solid center is being eased back into walkthroughs, and that's great news. With so many new pieces on the interior offensive line, James Daniels and Jonah Savino included, Brewer's return will be critical for continuity. He was one of the NFL's top centers last year, and he'll be key for Tua's protection in 2025. McDaniel is playing this cautiously, and rightly so. Then there's Darren Waller. The comeback tight end is still not participating in team drills, instead working closely with position coach John Embry. While he's in shape, the coaching staff is not rushing this process, stressing the difference between gym shape and football shape. It's slow, but deliberate, and the hope remains that he'll be full go soon. Still, it raises questions about whether Miami might pursue someone like Noah Fant as insurance. And let's not forget, Ifeatu Melifonwu is also progressing from the non-football injury list. Signed from Detroit this offseason, Melifonwu could offer valuable depth at safety once he returns. McDaniel sounds optimistic, and that's encouraging, given how important rotational depth in the secondary will be this year. Because here's the thing, Zach Wilson, for all the talk and all the chances he's been given, has yet to prove that he belongs in a system that requires precision, intelligence, and consistency. Mike McDaniel's offense is not built for quarterbacks who hesitate or struggle with progressions. It's built for guys who can execute under pressure and make fast, accurate decisions. So when you see Quinn Ewers coming in, playing with poise, stacking up touchdowns in red zone drills, and outshining Wilson, well, it makes you think. Maybe this 7th-round pick wasn't such a shot in the dark after all. Maybe Greer lucked into something this time, because let's be honest, it wasn't strategic genius that landed Ewers in Miami, it was a flyer. But now, that flyer is becoming the most exciting story of camp, and there's even more intrigue when we shift focus back to the defense. The linebacker competition isn't just about who starts, it's about redefining the identity of a defense that's trying to establish toughness in the middle. Willie Gay Jr. has completely disrupted the status quo. His speed and explosiveness are turning heads, but it's his football IQ that's showing up in coverage and blitz recognition. When you watch a guy consistently be in the right place, make the right reads, and execute without hesitation, it's hard not to picture him in the starting lineup come week 1. Tyrell Dodson might have the contract, but Gay is earning the snaps. And as we get closer to padded practices, the trenches are about to become the main event. The Dolphins' offensive line, which has been a source of frustration for years, finally has a few pieces worth getting excited about. Jonah Savino, the rookie who's expected to make a big impact, will now have a chance to prove it when the pads come on. Patrick Paul and Austin Jackson need to hold their ground against a loaded defensive front. And without Aaron Brewer fully activated yet, it's up to the rest of the line to maintain cohesion. The matchups against Zach Sealer, Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips, and Bradley Chubb, if healthy, will be telling. We'll finally see who can hold their own when the physicality ramps up. This is where rosters are truly built, not in the classroom, but in the trenches. Now, back to the cornerback situation because this can't be overstated. Kader Koa's absence leaves a vacuum, and no matter how solid the new signings are, they're not replacements. Jack Jones brings experience but has struggled with consistency. Mike Hilton is a true professional, great in the slot, but at this point in his career, you're not expecting him to shadow top receivers. Cornell Armstrong is a depth piece. So without Kohu, the pressure falls back on unproven names like Cam Smith and Storm Duck, and while there's potential, there's also volatility. And that's the last thing this defense needs going into a season with playoff expectations. But one thing this coaching staff is doing right is managing these injuries with patience. Aaron Brewer being eased in is the smart call. He's too valuable to rush back. Darren Waller getting individual work instead of forcing reps, also smart. Miami knows what he could bring if he gets fully back to form, and rushing that process after a year off would be a mistake. Still, it's hard to look at that tight end room and not wonder whether a call to some